Okay. All right. All right, guys. So welcome to live and our technical difficulties. We're so glad you are here. What we're going to be doing on this is we're just going to be highlighting a couple of our clients. We want to walk them through what it is they're doing, and we might show you a couple of the things. We have another client that is supposed to be coming on here after. Hopefully, like we'll be able to get them both in. If not, we'll end it early, but we'll do our very best. So what I want to do is, Mac, I'm going to hand it over to you. You can start with the interview. If there's particular things that we want to show, then I can try to show that on the screen, like, just maybe going a little bit more depth. But how about you start off by, where she was before, and then we'll kind of like walk through that process.
Yeah, cool. Thank you, Tanner. Charlotte, why don't you just kind of tell the people a little bit of background on you and kind of like, I guess what kind of coach you are, and just kind of how you got to be doing what you're doing now.
Yeah, cool. So I'm Shawl. I'm a personal trainer from the UK. I've been a personal trainer for 10 and a half years now. Started coaching Gen Pop. Had a very successful fat loss business, but plateaued because I had no niche. And then I niched into helping fitness coaches in their own fitness coaching, which was a niche with no competition, but a very difficult niche at that. So I started Elite CEOs in a difficult position, was struggling with my ads quite a bit. We literally were just working organic because we couldn't get the ads to work and just kept flatlining at like 80 clients. And then now we've pivoted the offer slightly into business coaching, and things are going really well.
Talk about
Oh,
like
that's
a little
awesome.
bit. Sorry, Mac, I didn't mean to cut you off. I
No,
got
go ahead.
talk to you in this. Talk a little bit about how you were getting clients previously. So before we even talk about before, like tell people, like I don't know how in depth you want to get, but like just say like, hey, this is how I traditionally got clients before. Like, how did you do that?
Yeah, so I was posting content like at least once a day, 7 days a week. I was doing like really in-depth story funnels. I was running promotions like every 8 weeks, and I was paying a setter like 6 hours a day, and we were having to follow people to get them to follow us back and run webinars and run loads of different things to get like 2 calls booked a week. So it was a graft, and I was like overpaying a setter because it was like a specialist niche, and we just weren't getting enough calls
So
booked.
explain to the people listening. They're like, why doesn't that work? Like, or in your opinion. So like you were posting every single day, you were following everybody. Like what's kind of the biggest detriment of that working in your opinion?
It's not predictable, which I think is dangerous in business if something isn't predictable and you just kind of like hope for the best of what you do and what you know. But I think it becomes finite. Like there's a point where not that it stops working, just that it slows down and it never ramps up, and you've got no control over like increasing your lead flow. And I think it affects your authority when you're following people to get a follow back. You're already on the back foot in the DMs because it's like, hey, thanks for following me, like because I followed you, and it's a bad conversation starter, and you got to kind of spin it like, oh, I followed because I really liked your page. Why did you follow me back? And it was just awkward as fuck. So the conversations were so dry, and it would take us like, I think it was something like an average of 60 days to get someone on a call, whereas now it's like a week.
Okay, so that was a great explanation. What if did you ever try cold DMs? Like you just
Yeah,
didn't
we
even
did.
follow you did do that too. So
Yeah,
like
yeah, we did.
what was it any different or was it basically the same?
It was worse. Like the response rate was so much worse.
Okay.
Like there was so our normal response rate was around to initial message was around 30%. Doing the cold DMs was about 5%. And then Mac will know we've got very weird stats, but our reply to add initial message is like 70 to 77%.
Jeez. Okay. So that's kind of how you started. That's what you were doing before. What do you think was the biggest shift? And then just explain as you explain it, like explain to people like what the difference is. So you're like, hey, like I did this, and then because I did that, I did this. Like, so what was kind of the difference you did, and then kind of explain it in detail so people get it.
Okay, so I continued doing all the stuff that I was doing, like posting every day and story funnels and doing promotions and stuff. But then we added the boosted posts on. And I think what I did differently when I joined you guys was I wasn't afraid to test like so many at once or to just constantly turn them on and off until I got what I wanted. And I was constantly looking for like the middle metrics of the part of the ads. Like I was looking for cost per profile visit, cost per follower in so much depth. And then we had a call and we zoomed out and just looked at how much I'm putting in and how much I'm getting out. And then it just made a lot more sense because in quite a what I call a hyper niche, I don't think I'm ever gonna get followers at like 50 pence a follower. Like, and it was good to just have both of you be like, no, just zoom out and look at what you've put in and what you're getting out. And like we noticed there was some months where I was putting in like a grand, 2 grand, and then getting like seven back. And it was like, so it doesn't matter what the frig is going on in the middle, like how much the followers are, what the profile visit cost is. It was like just as simple as look at what's going in and what's coming out. And I think that made it easier for me to just test things and keep testing and keep changing things and trying different like top of funnel. We tried a lot of direct at the start with Mac and just that didn't work as well, but the top of funnel stuff works really, really well within my niche. Plus having a really good setter, like my setters numbers are really good per like how many new followers we get to how many people we get booked is pretty high.
Okay, so for people who don't know what the difference is, like explain to them the difference between a boosted post and then when you were following people and doing a cold DM. Like explain to people like what that means and then why you think you have more success with it.
Yeah, so the cold DMs we literally so I went round and it took me hours because I would do a massive list of like um people in our like market and then the setter would go through and message all of them. So that would cost me a load of time. That would obviously cost her a load of time to get like a 5% response rate, if that. And a lot of the time, like I said, we were starting on the back foot in conversations. Um, as opposed to now doing the boosted posts where followers just come in and then they'll interact with like some of the pinned posts. We've got like lead magnets and the stories, and they'll interact straight away. And then the setter will just reach out and like ask them like why they followed. They're so much more responsive because they're so much more active as well, and they're seeing everything because when you're doing cold, you're going straight into someone's requests. And again, in the niche I'm working in, the your request folder is absolutely just peppered with like crap. So like as a personal trainer, you get email marketers, like mentors, you get anyone and everyone in your request. So it was really hard to be seen. So now when people see our boosted posts, they choose to follow us. So that's kind of them already being like, hey, I like you. And then we're just reaching out and being like, what do you want to talk about? Type of thing.
Okay, so the biggest difference, what it sounded like to me is, before you're going to people, so they're a lot less responsive. Now they're coming to you. Why didn't you do that before? So before you even worked with us, did you not know they existed? Did you not know how to do it? Like, what was kind of the reason you didn't do that before?
So I did. I was testing it with different ads, but I think because I had Mac telling me like turn this off, put this on, this is working at the moment, that won't work type of thing, that helped because the ones I was doing previously was like a lot of really heavy talking head, like giving a lot of value, but in the talking head videos and the stuff that we have and they were quite direct, but the stuff that we have right now, like our best performing ad is telling coaches like what 5 books to read. Like it was about finding the right thing. And prior to coming to you guys, I would run ads and I've never, never ever got below £15 a follower, which is obviously expensive for just kind of like a
That's
top of funnel
that's
ad.
super high. So
Yeah.
what was the difference in the ads? Before you said it was like talking head value and like what would you call the ads you do
It,
now?
so it was like the old ones were like value but direct. So it was like, this is your biggest problem. Here's how to fix it. Like DM me this or make sure that you hit follow. But now it's literally like here's 5 books you can read to become a better coach. Here's like supplements you can take if you're a coach. Like they're very I don't know, they're very, very surface level. And I think it works better for a niche that are constantly sold to and are kind of quite a sophisticated market. So they don't, especially in the UK, obviously I don't know about the US, but especially in the UK, I think personal trainers are very wise to business mentors now. They don't want to be told, I can get you from 0 to 5K and you can buy a Lamborghini. Like, that's what I've noticed personally about the industry. Like Hormozi's post the other day, like he would it's just not the vibe. I don't think people respond to it. But what I was talking to Mac about being a personal trainer for so long, one of coach's biggest values is that they want to be a really good coach. Like they really want to help people. So if I can create ads and content about how to be even better at just the theory of coaching, not even the business side, but then bring them into the business side, it works better and it's a lot less confrontational, I think, on the front end. So they're like, oh, this girl posts like helpful tips about being a coach. I'm going to follow her. And then we start messaging, we find out where they're at, what they need help with, and then we go from there quite easily.
Did you have the same setter before? Like the exact same setter? Did you get a new
Oh,
setter?
we got a new setter. Yeah.
Okay. What was the reason you got a new setter?
Um, I went on holiday and numbers were not numbering, shall we say. So the job wasn't being done when I wasn't there. It was trust for me. That setter was with me about 2.5 years and the trust was broken.
Okay, so when you were looking for a new setter, did you have a good interview process or like a good testing process? Like how did you feel more comfortable with them? And did the first person you hired worked out or did you have to hire a few people?
So for this setter I've got now, no. So I did a trialing process with one of my friends that owns a like setter training agency, and we picked four setters. The girl I chose was actually like the underdog. She said just give her a chance because no one else has let her do a trial yet.
Mm.
Um, so we did a trial, and I had four of them on rotating shifts in my account, and whoever booked the most calls got the job. It's quite a tough niche. It was at the time anyway, because we were only doing fitness coaching. So we didn't get that many calls booked, but she really stood out because I didn't really help them during the trial. So if they asked questions, obviously I would answer them, but I didn't like pull them up on DMs and tell them to improve anything. It was about, for me, figuring out who had the best initiative, who was kind of hungry enough and would kind of work a little bit outside of the hours as well because they wanted to win the trial. So we did like a Loom interview as well. Um, and then I chose her. She was asking me loads of questions. She even said to me, "Hey, I'd really like to just sit in your account in the weekend and learn more about your offer." She was asking me for loads of stuff within the program so she could just learn how to speak like me more, even just within the space of like this 5 day trial. Um, so I took her on. I doubled the hours straight away. And then we've done training every single week since she started. We were doing shadow shifts every single day for like the first 2 to 4 weeks. And now we obviously do like multiple meetings per week. Talk about where she's up to, look at the numbers. I tell her about where the business is at, what we're running next. And what I found really helpful actually since the event in Dallas was someone mentioned to get the setter involved in the revenue targets. Since I've been doing that, she's even more hungry for it. Like she's like, I'm gonna get you to that goal this week. We're gonna get there this week. And then now I've started giving her bonuses if we hit certain levels.
Nice. So when you gave her a trial, like explain to people how you do a trial. So like if someone's like, yo, that sounds really good, like how did you do it?
So I got all four of them logged into the account. And I allowed them to like just sit in there for a day, look at the messages that I'd sent previously. I showed them some previous like proven conversations, so people who'd booked calls. I showed them like what they look like. And then I gave them a time frame. I didn't even give them like an SOP or anything to follow. But then what we did was we color coded the DMs so they would send a different emoji so we knew which setter sent what
Mhm.
message. And then I was just reading them the whole time and spot checking. And then, yeah, I just, if they ask questions, I help them. But it was a red flag because there was one of them in there that didn't ask me any questions. And I think for me, it was finding the balance between looking at who spoke like me, who knew the offer well, and who kind of showed initiative to ask as many questions as possible, and a mixture of the numbers as well, because we all know like the quality of the DMs that you send is so important. But if you're sending like three per hour, you're never gonna get anywhere. So like there was one in there and she sent, I think it was like 12 messages in 2 hours, and I was like, she's gonna have to hurry this up by the end of the trial, otherwise like
Yeah.
it won't go anywhere at all. So the the girl I've got now, she just hit both like quality and quantity. She sent me a message mid-trial being like, how many DMs are you expecting per hour? And I was like 20 to 30. And she was like, oh, okay, cool. And then just started hitting it.
Did you think about having them just like, for example, did you think about maybe giving them a recorded video and like a script, and then you're just like, hey, just record yourself working and then checking that? Like, because you kind of did it live. Did you think about possibly doing it like a recording style so you didn't have to do that? Or like what was the reason you did it live?
I didn't. That sounds like a good idea.
Oh,
But no, I didn't at the time because it was for me it was more attitude. It was more about their attitude and their personality, and I kind of wanted them to either sink or swim. Does that sound really bad? But like either figure it out, ask me for help, or I don't want to work with you if you're not going to do either of those things type of thing.
got it. So you were talking about boosted posts and how that's like helped your business. Tell people kind of the numbers you're looking for and give like examples. So if you're like, hey, I spent $1,000, I get this many profile views, I get this many followers, like kind of break that down just so people can like understand like what kind of shifted. Because like before it was basically just cold DMs and kind of hoping and praying, and now you got something that's a little bit more consistent.
Yeah, yeah. Let me get the numbers up. Matt can help me with this one.
Yeah. Or even just an estimate, like just like on average, if you kind of have an idea.
Yeah, so like looking at like July, so when I first started running the boosted ads properly, we spent £1,000. We got 23,000 profile views, 964 new followers. Um we booked 10 calls, all of them turned up, and seven of them signed up. And we collected 7K and we contracted 17K from a grand ad spend.
Wow.
But that's been changing each month. The close percentage has dropped as we've gone, but we've like drastically increased the prices. So the price was like £1,800 and now it's 5,500. So the close percentage has gone from 70% to 57, but the program price is like
Uh,
triple nearly. Yeah.
what would you say like final questions for you? Like, would you say you're a pretty good closer?
Um, I think everyone has room for improvement with closing. Like I actually think it changes as the market changes and people's behaviors change. So it's not something that you should constantly that you should think, oh, I'm really good at this. Like you have to keep improving. Because I've noticed myself be really good at it. And then sometimes it starts dropping and then I change something and it gets better. So it's like a constant process. But yeah, I like to think I'm a good closer. Sometimes I shy away because, again, my niche, I don't want to be the Lamborghini hair transplant type of mentor. So I don't like to do terribly high pressure
Wait, hold
sales.
on. Did you say hair transplant? What does that mean?
Like when you get your hair lasered back on.
Oh man, yeah, but what like is that like some? It's like, hey, if you make money, you can get a hair transplant. Like, what
Yeah,
is that?
yeah, yeah, that's the thing.
What? Really?
Yeah,
Okay, I
that's
was
what
like,
we
so
do.
I've not seen that. That's probably the funniest thing I've ever heard.
You don't have that problem. You're fortunate.
Yeah, but yeah, so if you make money in your business, you can get a Lambo and a hair transplant. I love that. All right.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like the female equivalent of getting your boobs done.
Oh my
It's
Lord. That
it's
is
true.
that's crazy. Well, back, is there anything else we need to ask her? I think we grilled her pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I got a couple more questions for you. I would say you're a very good closer, by the way. Just from the calls that I've looked at. So just for like a lot of the people watching, because I mean, obviously I work with like quite a few people. There's a lot of people out there that are running boosted posts, whether they're working with us or not. I guess what would you say to those people? Because last month, I mean, like contracted wise, you're over at like a 10x ROAS. What would you say to those people that are not at a good ROAS right now? Like, what kind of advice would you give them to get something that's working?
Um, it's a mixture between turn it off fast and put something else on, and a mixture between keep it on. If it's slightly working, keep it on and scale it. So I think it's finding the middle ground between if something just really isn't working, like the ad just isn't working, your ROAS is low, then turn it off as soon as you can and just start testing something else. But also if it's kind of working, just put some more money into it and see if you can double it and triple it and quadruple it and just keep going with it. Um, but just don't be scared of the numbers. And I think what we've done has worked really well. Like just spread the ad spend across so many different ads. You just hit people from all different angles instead of putting loads of money into one thing and you're just like hedging all your bets on like one thing. Just spread it across different areas, like top of funnel, middle of funnel, direct, indirect stuff. That's what I think has worked well for me to figure out what is going to work because we'll put like eight on at a time and then we'll let it go for a few days and then we'll turn a couple off and then we'll put another couple on and we'll just keep going until we get the best ones.
That's all such like really sound advice. Like anybody who's struggling with boosted posts should like listen to that again because that really is just like, it's a lot of the little things that people overlook that really do make the biggest difference and just being on top of everything. Like one thing I'll say a lot about Charlotte, just working with her, is she's very detail orientated. And that's something I really notice with the people that do well and the people that don't, is they keep track of everything. Something that they can measure, they will measure. Because it's just super important. Um, I was kind of curious as well, just like how has getting boosted posts specifically, I guess, working for you? Like, how has that changed like your day-to-day life in the business? Like, I guess your stress levels, like just the way you see your business now.
Um, it's definitely taken a lot of the pressure off with like all the organic stuff that I was doing.
Hmm.
And like I'm not posting content as much, but it hasn't had an impact because when the ads are bringing enough people in, I don't need to like break my back posting like an excessive amount of content. I'm not like as bothered about like engagement or anything like that. Like the follows are coming in, the calls are being booked, they're signing up. Um, it's not that you can forego everything else, but it's just that maybe I don't need to post 10 times a week. Maybe I can post five type of thing and I'll still get
Hmm.
a decent return as long as the ads are working. So that's massively helped. It, it the leads don't like wait for me to be on the account for the setter to have stuff to work with, if that makes sense. Like I don't have
Hmm.
to go on and like post loads of stories and like do loads of engagement and do all of that stuff for the setter to start her shift and be like, oh, okay, here's all my leads. Like they're just there waiting for her when she's ready. And I think I mean, I'm paying less for the setter. I'm paying less hours, but getting a higher return as well, on the calls booked. So yeah, it's been really helpful. That kind of side of the business can be slightly self-sufficient, or a lot more sufficient than it
Yeah.
was prior to having the ads.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. I guess last question for me. Did anything like specifically surprise you about working with us or going to the events? I know you signed up on our last Miami event.
Yeah. Um, anything that surprised me? I find the events really, really useful. Like I've been to lots of events, like lots of business events, and it's the only one where I write things down. Because
Hmm.
there's like something to take away, there's something to learn from, there's something to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna try and implement that. Whereas I've sat in so many rooms and just like had like a blank notepad and just gone home with a blank notepad because there was nothing of substance. So I really like the events. I think they're really productive. The reason why I signed up in Miami is because I went to an event a couple of years ago in San Diego, and the people I met in San Diego were there in Miami, and I was like, if these guys can keep their clients for a couple of years and their clients are like making so much more money than they were when I met them in San Diego, I'm gonna sign up.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, that's all I got. Tanner, you got
Yeah.
anything?
No, that's it. Thanks for coming on. You are dismissed. We're gonna bring Scotty on. Thanks for sharing everything. Appreciate you.
Thank you. See you later.
All right, Scotty, what's up, dude? Thanks for being here.
Oh my God, what's going on?
Yeah, what's up, dude? So, we just finished our first client. What I want to do is I'll have Matt kind of start off with the question, and then we're just gonna be asking you questions of like where you were before, where you are now, and then kind of how you thought through some of the processes. So, like what we were doing before is like, hey, so like you got a setter, like how did you go about getting a setter? Like, why did you pick this setter over this one? Like, we're asking a little bit more like just in-depth questions so people can understand like how you think about business. So Mac, how
Yeah.
about you start off kind of like you did, and then we'll both like pepper questions until we've
You can
drilled
ask
them.
me why I'm so amazing too. Like I'm happy to go
Yeah,
into detail on
yeah,
that.
that's something.
Mac is the best coach of all time.
Scotty, what is going on? I guess first question for you, kind of tell the people like where you were at before you were joining, what was kind of things you were struggling with, what was going through your head, kind of what was like the day to day like, I guess before we started working together about
Yeah,
almost a year.
Yeah, basically like it was last year, basically about a year ago, I was doing okay in my business. I had hit a rough patch. I was running ads for like probably about a year and a half previous to that, or maybe a year and a couple months. And I was really kind of in the space. I was doing about 25,000 a month. So I was doing like okay, but I had been doing it for like a couple years. I had been stuck at around like 20, 25 for a little bit, maybe did like 41 months, kind of like ebbing and flowing. I really tried to go like all in on ads and I like ramped it up and I was spending like 15, 20K a month and it just fucking flopped and it was like bad. And so I basically like September, October, November before working with you guys, I was kind of in a space where I was like, I don't feel like I should be doing this poorly considering like I feel like I know what I'm doing, but I just didn't have structure. I didn't really have the ad dialed in. So yeah, I was like kind of in a tough spot. I had racked up some debt and I was like, this has got to change. So when I met you guys, I was like ready to kind of do whatever I needed to do to make that change.
Right. Yeah, if I remember correctly, uh ads were not converting at the clip that we needed them to, and you brought on a closer prematurely, which I think was kind of those two things in combination was just like
Yeah.
yeah, a couple bad months in a row for sure.
In hindsight, like
And
obviously knowing what
mhm,
I know now and like what I learned from you guys, like there were a lot of things that I didn't do right. So specifically, I brought on a closer too early, thinking that I needed to bring a closer on. I was paying them a base of 4,000 plus 10% commission, which I again like just didn't really know what I was
yeah.
doing. With the ads, I wasn't tracking my numbers at all. I was kind of just trusting the ads team and like crossing my fingers and hoping there was no like monthly reports, there were no analytics to know like if it was working or not working. I didn't have coaches in my program and my program was priced way too low. So like I was doing all the coaching myself. So I hired the closer before the coach, which is what you guys like recommend flipping that. And so
Mhm.
I was doing all the coaching myself and I was selling like my program at like 3,000-ish, like 3,500. And so there were just like a number of things that felt like kind of like the perfect storm of stuff that happened to kind of like lead to that.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, and then what were some of the biggest things like that really started to turn the ship around, like that we implemented fast that started to make big changes for you?
There were a couple things. Some of it was tactical, some of it was like more mindset, which is interesting because like you guys don't like teach mindset, but like it was just like being in the energy of like, oh shit, this is how you're supposed to be thinking and how you're supposed to be doing things like was really helpful. So increasing the price of my program was a big one. So I went from 3 to like 6K to like 7K, and now I'm at 9K. So in the span of a year, the price of my program skyrocketed, which gave me a lot more flexibility to be offering discounts for people, or if people like wanted to join for shorter periods. I just had more flexibility in my pricing. So that was a big one. I stopped all ads fully and started tracking my numbers from like LinkedIn messages, cold emails, referrals. I started tracking like where people were coming from. So I turned off my ads fully, went fully to an organic process to be like, I just
Hmm.
have to drop my cost down. I brought on two coaches in January and only paid them per client. So that was a big change where I didn't have to do all the coaching myself. So like really working through that process. And I ultimately launched a new tangential business, very much modeled off of what Tanner created with like the elite ads process. So I basically launched my own version of like done for you LinkedIn that I wouldn't like. It wasn't something that I came into the platform thinking I wanted to do that, but I saw how it was working for you guys. And I was like, this can absolutely be extrapolated for my business. So I implemented that in end of January. So we had only been working together for like 2-ish months. And that business alone is going to do like 250 this year, which is like basically what I did all of last year in my other business.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Did anything surprise you about like working with us? I guess it's kind of an interesting question.
The biggest surprise is how much you guys would do for me. Like Mac, like you'll like go into my go high level and fix things for me. Like I've never worked with a coach that actually does that, like that gets into that level of weeds of like support. So it's like one thing to ask questions like conceptually, like should I hire a setter? Like yes or no. It's another thing to be like, I need a job posting, I need a template, I need like that's not anything I'd ever really experienced before. I didn't really know that coaches would do that. I just thought it was like, he's sorry, hold on, I'm getting a whole bunch of calls, of course, right now. Um, so I didn't, that was surprising for me because like, when you talk to coaches and like Anna, like obviously I joined because like Anna was like you have to work with them basically, and so like when you talk to people they're like, oh yeah, like coaches will always tell you like, oh we'll help you with like your systems, we'll help you with your processes, and I'm like, yeah, but like are you actually gonna do that, or are you just gonna tell me to create a system? And like I'm like, I don't fucking know what that means. So that was
Yeah,
probably surprising. If I had to think back on like what I was thinking at the time when I joined.
yeah, yeah. Okay, awesome. Yeah, and then like I guess tell the people kind of about the results. Like what happened once we really started getting the ball moving.
Yeah, it was pretty fast movement in terms of like I mean you guys know me, like I'm an executor, like I'm not going to sit around and just kind of
Mm-hmm.
do nothing. So once
100%.
told me what to do, I was like 100% done, like I'll do it. So after turning ads off, I really scaled things up to like 50K. Like I think I hit 50K. I don't remember the exact dates, but it was pretty shortly. It was only a couple months after joining. I got my little elite CEOs 50K right there.
Nice.
I have
Mm-hmm.
75. I've hit 80 in a month. You guys don't have like an 80 plaque, which I would have.
We got 100.
Yeah, I
Scott,
know.
you added in a done for you service. Did you talk about that yet?
In terms of
No.
results or
Yeah,
this.
no, just talk it to everyone. Like it's like okay, so you started like getting consistency. You started bringing clients in. Talk about the done for you service you've added on as well, like as a bolt on. I think people find that interesting.
Yeah, so my coaching is like traditional coaching consulting. I kind of model again similar to what you guys do, which is when I bring somebody on, like there's a success coach and we'll go in and I'll help them with LinkedIn. And so one of the things that I like never had really thought of, like I help financial advisors get clients through LinkedIn, prospecting, asking for referrals. And so I get the question on LinkedIn all the time, like, oh man, like I want to do it. I'm just not consistent. It's hard. I don't know how to figure it out. And I was like, well, I'm getting this question all the time. Why don't I just help people with it? And I kind of thought that wasn't really an option. And so I just started kind of putting some feelers out there for white label technologies to like figure out if I could white label a technology because I was like, I don't have the capacity to create this technology myself, specifically the automation component of my program, right? So like we automate the sending of connection requests, messages, following up with people, looking at their profile. And so basically, I mean, the way I thought about it was there are people that I talk to that don't necessarily want coaching because ultimately coaching, you have to do the work, right? Like at the end of the day, I have to do the work. Like if you're working with a coach, you have to do the work. The LinkedIn stuff, I was like, how do I make it so that they don't have to do anything? They literally just get the meetings on the calendar, but in a way that it actually works, where not like it's like scammy or like spammy. And so I was like, this serves my market. So the advisors I bring on, they do both coaching and they want to outsource that. And for people that don't want to do coaching, I now have something in my back pocket. If they're like, oh, I'm like, I'm too busy for coaching. I'm like, well, I can just get people on the calendar for you. And they're like, oh shit, really?
Oh.
So I mean, you guys have the same kind of model, right? Where like you have coaching and then you teach ads and you do done for you ads. So I was like, I'm just gonna replicate exactly what I see.
Do you have anything you're looking for? Like, do you offer it to every single client, or is it like only particular clients?
So it's there's an ideal avatar, but at the moment, I'm not going to say no to somebody if they're willing to pay me. In the sense that we do 6-month contracts with people, and we've done it with enough advisors that if they completely drop the ball on their end, like they know they've dropped the ball. And so it's kind of like a little bit less complicated than ads. Cause like if you mess up on ads for like 2 or 3 months, like you're blowing a lot of money. Like it's that can be a big deal to like mess. And there's so many things that can mess up in that. When I get somebody on the calendar as an advisor, you just close them or you don't close them. Like there's not that much to mess up. Like so I do offer it to people when I talk to them. It is like a standalone offer and a supplement to my coaching. So it's I have and there's crossover both ways. So I just signed up a client today 9,000 pay in full, who was a lead engine client. He's like, hey, lead engine was great. I want to stop doing that. I actually want to coach with you. I've never coached with him before. So I'm actually, and I have 3 people with lead engine that want to start coaching. So I'm actually getting crossover from both, but primarily I get people that are coaching that go into lead engine because they're just stickier clients. And if they're upset, I can just have a conversation with them. Like it's just a more conducive process.
Awesome. What else do we need to ask Mac that we haven't asked?
What would you say to somebody who is sitting on the fence right now and wants to work with us, but they're
Oh,
scared?
no, I'm just kidding. I would say like the best coaches I've ever worked with, and that's not saying that because they paid me to say that. Like I've worked with lots of different coaches. Like I spent 25,000 on a 3 month engagement with a coach. I spent 12,000 on a 4 month engagement. I spent 30,000 on a coach in a year. I mean, like I've tried techs, I've tried different people, different strategies. Like I've tried lots of different things, and like nobody's helped me as much as you guys have helped me. So I don't know. I'm just kind of like very much of the mindset of like just fucking do it and just try it. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Like move on. Like I don't. It's not that big of a deal to me for investing in my business. I'm like if I can get something out of it to make my return, then like it's worth it. And if I can quadruple my business, I went from like 25 to like 80. So I made my investment back in 1 month, and then every single month it compounds after that. So I'm like, it just doesn't, I don't really see any reason not to do it if there's like other people that have seen success, especially if like I've heard of them, like if I know that their success is real. So I would say go for it. I think the biggest caveat that I would share, not caveat, but the biggest like hurdle for me was like just actually pulling the trigger and feeling ready enough for it, which like, I think when I first met you guys, I didn't sign up right on the spot. It took me a little bit and it
Yeah.
took me pushing. And quite frankly, like when I talked to George, who like ultimately helped me move over the line, I was like, yeah, I want to think about it. He's like, no. He's like, you're gonna sign up. I was like, okay. Like seriously, I don't remember the exact conversation, but I'm very grateful because there was still fear. I was like, shit, this is like not an insignificant amount of money for me at the
Right.
time. And
Right.
so there was some fear. So I guess like my perspective now is like if you really are all in on your business and like you need help with strategy and like implementation and tactics, like there's really no reason not to work with you guys.
Yeah. Well, dude, really appreciate that. Obviously, you crushed it. We just wanted to bring you on, ask you a couple questions, give a little bit more insight than maybe like just a testimonial, right? Where people can actually hear like how you thought about stuff and like why you did what you did. So, guys, if you're watching this live, there's a link down below on YouTube or on my Instagram at tanner.chister where you can join our 5-day challenge. That's where I'd recommend you start because if you are scared or you're on the fence, that's free. You get 5 days with me. And then at the end of that point, if you guys do want to book a call, it's still free. You'll feel a little bit more comfortable. So,